Puss in Boots has only one of his 9 lives left, and death itself is pursuing him to finish him off, and no one escapes death. No one expected so much depth and the hidden messages in this great film. Puss in Boots lives as a hero, living what he believes is his best life, going from town to town, from party to party, saving the day and living the crazy life. Puss has never been touched by the edge of any sword, though this is about to change, and the townspeople celebrate him as a legend. One day, during a party dedicated to cats, a sleeping monster that lives under the city wakes up. The monster attacks the town and begins to capture everyone, and Puss is ready to be the hero. He jumps from a guitar and faces an epic battle against this giant to defeat the monster. Puss places a bell on its horns and uses it to knock it unconscious. Puss defeats the giant, and the town is euphoric, celebrating Puss for saving their lives once again. But at that moment, the bell from the giant falls and crushes Puss to the ground. Puss wakes up and finds himself in the town doctor's office, who informs him that he died in the accident. But Puss doesn't seem worried because cats have 9 lives. Here, the doctor asks him an important question: how many times have you died? Puss says he doesn't remember because he's not good at maths, but he starts to recall his past deaths. First, he was hit by a bull, then he was killed for cheating in a poker game. After that, he got drunk on milk and fell from a castle. Then he tried to lift some weights and was crushed by them. Later, he launched himself from a cannon, had an allergic reaction to seafood, got burned while baking cookies, and the 8th time, he was crushed by the bell. That means Puss has died 8 times and only has 1 life left. The doctor seriously advises him to retire from his adventurous life, but Puss is confident and says he has nothing to worry about. Puss says he laughs in the face of death. While having a drink in a bar and thinking about what the doctor said, he meets a mysterious wolf who asks him for an autograph. Seeing the wanted poster, Puss realizes that this wolf has come to kill him but has no idea of the strength of the opponent he is dealing with. Puss says he is not worried as he laughs in the face of death, and the wolf replies, "So I've been told." Puss immediately draws his sword to defend himself, but the wolf quickly disarms him and approaches Puss. For the first time in his life, the edge of a sword hurts Puss. He starts to have a panic attack, realizing that this wolf is the most powerful opponent he has ever faced. For the first time, Puss is truly afraid as he no longer has any lives left. This encounter could really be his last. Contrary to what he usually does, Puss prefers to run and escape from his opponent, but the wolf warns him that they will meet again. This is the first time Puss experiences real fear. Thus, the identity he had created for himself as someone fearless and daring is shattered. Puss decides to retire from his adventurous life and buries his boots and outfit underground, thus burying his old identity. Puss feels empty and without purpose, so he goes to the house of a cat-loving lady to retire in peace. Mama Luna adopts him and treats him like a little child, just like the rest of the cats in her shelter. She bathes him, feeds him cat food, gives him a litter box to do his business, and gives him a new name, Pickles. We see that Puss's confidence and self-esteem are completely shattered, and he feels miserable with his new domesticated life. In the shelter, Puss meets a puppy pretending to be a cat. Despite trying to ignore the puppy, it is too persistent and keeps trying to befriend him. It is extremely energetic and can be overwhelming. Then we see a girl named Goldilocks arrive at the shelter with the 3 bears. They are looking for the famous Puss in Boots. They search among the animals and find Puss, but conclude that this challenged cat couldn't be the one from the legends. Goldilocks and the bears leave and find the grave where Puss buried his outfit, concluding that he must be dead. But Puss hears them talking and learns that they are looking for him to help steal a map leading to the wishing star. This star is in an enchanted forest because once, a shooting star fell from the sky and filled a dark forest with magic. Now, this star contains a wish ready to be granted to whoever can traverse its forest. Puss immediately knows what he would wish for: 9 more lives. He wants to start over, have the chance to resume his adventurous life without fearing death. Puss wants to trick and outsmart death. Puss hears that the map to the star is in the possession of a man named Jack Horner. With this, Puss gets excited and decides to return to his heroic activities to find the map before Goldilocks so he can regain his 9 lives. Immediately, Puss sneaks into Jack Horner's house but is followed by the puppy, who believes he can be of great help in his quest. We discover that Jack is a person who steals various magical artifacts from fairy tale creatures, such as Alice's cookie from Wonderland that makes people grow, Snow White's poison apples, and Cinderella's glass slippers. Jack Horner is a wealthy man who plans to use the stars map to obtain all the world's treasures. This man is too ambitious to be happy with what he has. While Jack is distracted, Puss tries to seize the opportunity to steal the map but is intercepted by his ex-girlfriend Kitty Softpaws. They begin to argue with a lot of resentment since the reason for their breakup is still painful. While these ex-lovers fight for the map, Goldilocks appears with her bears. The noisy argument attracts Jack's attention, and he starts chasing them with his henchmen. However, Puss and Kitty manage to jump onto a cart driven by the puppy, who helps them escape Jack's pursuit. But just as they're getting away, Puss gets scared seeing the wolf watching him from the crowd and knows he should be worried. Puss, Kitty, and the puppy start their journey to find the star and decide to travel together, although they still haven't decided who will get the wish. Both Puss and Kitty want the wish, but the puppy says he doesn't really want it. He already has 2 friends and everything he could want. The only thing he would wish for is to become a therapy dog to help others. Kitty asks the puppy what his name is, and he says he has had many nicknames throughout his life: Piglet, Rat Face, but he has never had a real name, one that is truly his. With this, we begin to see how optimistic, cheerful, and enthusiastic the puppy is, always seeing the positive side of things. Meanwhile, Kitty and Puss can't believe there could be someone so kind and with such a pure heart. Using the map, they enter the forest where the wishing star is. When they extend the map, they realize the terrain changes depending on who holds it, since the one who wants to obtain the wish must earn it. The map modifies its obstacles based on the holder. When Puss holds the map, the path becomes dark and dangerous, with obstacles like the Cave of Lost Souls and the Valley of Incineration. When Kitty holds it, it also becomes extremely sinister and threatening, with places like the Abyss of Eternal Loneliness and the Swamp of Infinite Sorrows. However, when the puppy holds the map, the path transforms into a cheerful rainbow land due to his boundless optimism, with places like a rose garden and the River of Relaxation. Seeing this, they decide to let the puppy hold the map. When the 3 of them see Goldilocks and the bears arriving in the forest, they start moving faster in their quest. When they reach the flower garden, Puss and Kitty quickly draw their swords and begin to attack the plants, which retaliate. However, the puppy simply approaches the flowers, stops to smell them, and they open a path for him. Puss is stunned and thinks sniffing the roses is naive and silly, but they still do it. They ask the puppy why he is so ridiculously optimistic and what his story is. The puppy laughs and tells them about his past, saying that despite his family putting him in a sock with some rocks and sending him down a river during a game, he is grateful for that experience because now he has an exciting story to tell, and that sock became his sweater. The puppy is truly optimistic, seeing the positive side even in the most difficult and painful situations, which makes him very different from Kitty and Puss. Meanwhile, the bears ask Goldilocks what wish she wants to obtain from the star. Goldilocks avoids the question, knowing that her wish would break the bears' hearts. This trio is intercepted and knocked down by Jack Horner and his henchmen, who want to cut down the flowers to open a path. However, the henchmen end up being devoured by the flowers, and Jack uses one of his magical creatures to advance. Meanwhile, Jack talks about his tragic past and shares his thoughts with Jiminy Cricket, one of his magical creatures. "You know, I never had much as a child, just loving parents, stability, a mansion, and a thriving business to inherit. Useless things like that. But once I get my wish, I'll finally have the one thing that will make me happy." Jiminy Cricket curiously asks what his wish is, and Jack replies, "All the magical power in the world for myself and for no one else to get anything. Is that too much to ask?" With this, we see that Jack is the antithesis of the puppy. While the puppy had a truly tragic past and is still a happy and optimistic person, Jack Horner had loving parents and a great life, but still feels empty and continues his endless quest for things that supposedly can fill that void. Jack Horner's character is fascinating because the film suggests that some people are simply evil for the sake of being evil, not because they have a past to blame. Nowadays, there is a tendency to present villains as broken beings with a tragic past, but Jack defies that narrative by being a villain without an external excuse for his evil. This makes Jack an interesting villain, someone truly rotten. As they go on their way, we discover that Puss and Kitty ended their relationship due to something that happened in Santa Coloma. Jack's henchmen capture the puppy and threaten Puss to hand over the map, and an epic battle begins. Just when Puss has the chance to retrieve the map, he sees the figure of the wolf, gets scared, and runs into the forest out of fear. Meanwhile, Goldilocks manages to get the map. Puss starts having a panic attack. The puppy finds him under a tree and comforts him to make him feel better, showing that he would make a great therapy dog. Here, Puss confesses to the puppy that he is on his last life, and that's what really scares him, which is why he is looking for the wishing star. Puss also tells the puppy what happened in Santa Coloma and how he betrayed Kitty by leaving her at the altar. He confesses that on their wedding day, he didn't show up at the church because he felt there was no room for anyone else in his adventurous life, but he also expresses deep regret for that moment of hurting Kitty. The puppy listens to this and decides to help him again. When Goldilocks opens the map, the terrain turns into a very old cabin. Goldilocks starts to remember how she was a helpless orphan until the bears decided to adopt her as their own family. However, we see that despite the bear's affection, Goldilocks still intends to find her true family. Puss and his group manage to enter the cabin and retrieve the map, but they are discovered by the bears. The whole place starts to change because Puss has the map, and he gets trapped inside a gigantic crystal cave, the Cave of Lost Souls. Inside the cave, Puss meets his former 8 lives, who try to convince him to abandon Kitty and the puppy, break the promise they made to share the wish, and find the wishing star to regain his 9 lives. However, he thinks that maybe he doesn't need to do this since he is really enjoying his current life with Kitty and the puppy. Maybe this one life would be enough. Puss is having this epiphany when he is interrupted by the big bad wolf. The wolf appears in the cave and tells Puss that he has been in every one of his lives, or rather in every one of his deaths, those frivolous and useless deaths. But that cat didn't even notice it because he said he was laughing at death, and then he says, "Who's laughing now?" The cat understands that the wolf is not a fortune hunter, but the wolf is death itself, and it's coming for him. Death tells him that she's eager to take him because despite the cat having 8 lives, he never valued any of them. So Death is there, eager to take his last life. So, he flees for his life, literally determined to get his 9 lives back, even if it means betraying and hurting Kitty again. Meanwhile, Goldilocks and the bears get lost in the forest, leading to an argument where Goldilocks reveals her true desire. She wants a real human family. The bears are surprised and heartbroken. They had opened their doors to Goldilocks and considered her as a member of their family. But that wasn't enough for her. Nonetheless, Mama Bear loves Goldilocks so much that she offers to continue helping her achieve her wish if that makes her happy. Meanwhile, we see Jack using his men as a bridge to cross to the other side of the mountain. However, when he tries to take his carriage, all his henchmen fall to their deaths due to its weight. With this, we see that Jack, being extremely egocentric, wanted anything to get what he wants. Cat, who now has the map, decides to go for the star. Here it is running, and he is disappointed to know that Cat is betraying him once again. Cat finally reaches the star, makes his wish, and begins the invocation. Kitty appears while he is saying the words, but so do Goldilocks, the bears, Jack, and his henchmen, and the final battle for the map and the wish begins. In the midst of this, the baby bear is pulled by the star's force field, but Goldilocks sacrifices her chance to make the wish to save the baby, as she finally realizes that the bears are her true family. Just as Cat is reflecting on fulfilling his wish, Death appears and traps him in a ring of fire. She mocks Cat for being afraid of Death and for wanting to use his wish to deceive her. In the face of Death, Cat remembers all the good and exciting moments he has had with Kitty and Dog in this last life. So, Cat decides that he will no longer try to deceive Death, but will fight to keep this last life he has left, because he does not want to lose it. He takes his sword and engages in combat with the wolf. After a really tough fight, Cat manages to disarm Death. Death looks him in the eyes and becomes enraged, as she expected to find the arrogant Puss in Boots who thought he was immortal, but now she finds someone changed, different from what he used to be. Death grants Cat the victory, but tells him that they will meet again in the future. Cat says he is counting on it as he leaves. Suddenly, Jack Horner emerges from the bag after eating one of Alice's cookies, which transforms him into a giant. Cat, Kitty, and Goldilocks decide to destroy the map as they realize they don't need it, causing the star to begin to destroy itself as it tries to reassemble the pieces of the map, but fails. Finally, the star explodes, absorbing Jack before shooting into the sky and exploding. Goldilocks and the bears set off on their way as a happy family. Likewise, Cat and Kitty reconcile after he apologizes to her and expresses that what he would like most is to spend his last life with her. They adopt Dog as part of their new family. They tell him that now that he is adopted, Puss in Boots 2 is a much deeper movie than we would expect, addressing themes such as acceptance of our mortality, anxiety, and the meaning of life. It shows us the idea of mortality and the inevitability of death. Although the cat has lived as a hero and achieved great feats, death finally catches up with him. This reminds us that regardless of our abilities or achievements, we are mortal and sooner or later we must face our end. Furthermore, the movie raises the importance of learning to value what little or much we have. Although the cat has had 8 lives, it is clear that Dog has known how to appreciate more deeply the only life he has had, even though it has been full of really difficult moments. Thus, this story makes us reflect on what constitutes a good life. A good life is one filled with adventures, deeds, or one filled with gratitude and appreciation. Initially, Cat and Goldilocks considered Dog's extreme optimism to be naive, and they thought that smelling the flowers was silly. However, as the movie progresses, we may come to question that perhaps despite Dog definitely having the most tragic past, he is the luckiest character of all because he is the one who lives more joyfully, happily, and carefreely.